The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Its lights twinkled against the black sky, marking it as one of the most important places in the galaxy. This was Council Station Alpha, where the greatest military minds from dozens of worlds came together once each year. Captain Lisa Morgan pressed her face to the small window of her transport ship. She could see other vessels arriving from all directions. Some were huge warships covered in armor and bristling with weapons. Others looked like floating crystals or balls of pure energy. Each ship carried representatives from different alien species, all coming to show off their military power. The human ship called New Horizon was much smaller than most others. It looked plain and simple compared to the exotic alien vessels. Lisa smiled at this. Humans had learned long ago that sometimes the best approach was to let others underestimate you. "Captain, we're clear for docking," called out Lieutenant Mike Davis from the pilot seat. "Bay 17. Lisa nodded and straightened her simple blue uniform. She wore no armor, carried no visible weapons, and had no fancy technology attached to her body. This was very different from what the aliens expected to see. As their ship settled into the docking bay, Lisa could see alien delegates gathering to watch the arrivals. Through the clear walls of the bay, she spotted the tall, gray-skinned Vorthak warriors in their black armor. Their leader, Commander Zektar, stood with his arms crossed, looking annoyed. His people were known throughout the galaxy as fierce fighters who solved most problems with violence. Near them stood the Nexri, beings that looked like walking crystals. They communicated by changing colors and making clicking sounds. Their representative flashed orange patterns that Lisa's translator told her meant disapproval. The Kalani delegation floated nearby in their environmental suits filled with purple gas. These aliens were usually peaceful and diplomatic, but even they seemed confused by the human arrival. Lisa walked down the ramp from her ship, followed by 3 other humans. Dr. Alex Chun carried a simple briefcase with some papers. Captain Jake Peterson wore a dress uniform but no weapons. Lieutenant Anna Brown looked around with curious eyes, taking notes on a simple tablet. The moment Lisa stepped onto the station floor, she felt all eyes turned toward her. Conversation stopped. The clicking of the Nexri grew louder. Commander Zektar's yellow eyes narrowed as he looked her up and down. "Where are your weapons?" asked a voice. It came from a small device that translated the hissing sounds of a snake-like alien called Serpenny. "Where is your armor?" Lisa smiled politely. "I don't need any." This caused an even bigger stir among the aliens. Several species began talking at once in their various languages. The translation devices worked overtime to keep up. A tall, blue-skinned alien approached. This was Ambassador Kale of the Lumens, a species that could control energy with their minds. "Captain Morgan, I believe there has been some mistake. This is a military summit. We are here to demonstrate our combat capabilities." "No mistake," Lisa replied calmly. "We're here for the same reason as everyone else." The Lumen's ambassador's skin flickered with confusion. "But you carry no weapons. Your people show no signs of military enhancement. How do you plan to participate in the combat trials?" Before Lisa could answer, Commander Zektar stepped forward. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. He was nearly 8 feet tall and built like a living tank. Scars covered his gray skin, and his armor hummed with energy. "Humans," he said with a laugh that sounded like grinding metal. "I have heard of your species. You live on a weak world with weak gravity. Your bodies are soft and slow. You have no natural weapons like claws or venom. You cannot breathe in space or survive extreme temperatures. And now you come here with no tools of war at all." He leaned down to look directly at Lisa. "Are you here to surrender your worlds to stronger species? Is this some kind of joke?" Lisa looked back at him without fear. Her brown eyes stayed calm and steady. "We're here to show what humans can do." "With what?" Zektar laughed again. "Your bare hands." "If necessary," Lisa said simply. This made the Vorthak commander laugh even harder. He turned to address the growing crowd of alien delegates. "Look at this. The humans think they can fight with no weapons. Their bodies have no armor, no enhancement, no special abilities. They're nothing but soft meat." Other aliens began to join in with their own versions of laughter. The insectoid hive mind delegates clicked their mandibles in amusement. The energy beings called Voidneth pulsed with colors that meant they found something funny. Dr. Chen stepped up beside Lisa. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. "Perhaps we should explain," he said quietly. "Not yet," Lisa replied. "Let them think what they want to think. It will make the demonstration more effective." Ambassador Kale held up one blue hand for silence. "Honored delegates, we should not mock our human friends. They must have some plan, some hidden technology perhaps." "No hidden technology," Lisa said. "No tricks, no special equipment. Just humans being human." Commander Zektar shook his massive head. "This is foolishness. How can you expect to compete in combat trials without weapons? The trials are designed to test military capability. Every species brings their finest warriors and their most advanced equipment." Lisa looked around at all the alien faces watching her. Some showed curiosity, others showed amusement, and a few showed what might have been concern. She could see weapons everywhere. Energy rifles, plasma cannons, gravity hammers, neural disruptors. The aliens were covered in armor, force fields, and technological enhancements that made them faster, stronger, and more dangerous. "You're right," she said finally. "Every species does bring their finest warriors and most advanced equipment." She paused and smiled. "We brought both." The aliens looked confused. They looked around for other humans who might be hidden somewhere, or for cases that might contain advanced weapons. "I don't understand," said Ambassador Kale. "Where are your warriors? Where are your weapons?" Lisa spread her arms wide, showing her empty hands and simple clothes. "You're looking at them." The silence that followed was complete. Even the constant hum of the station's machinery seemed quieter. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at the small human woman, standing calmly in the middle of the docking bay. Commander Zektar was the first to break the silence. "You cannot be serious, DR." Chin stepped up beside Lisa. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. "Perhaps we should explain," he said quietly. "Not yet," Lisa replied. "Let them think what they want to think. It will make the demonstration more effective." Ambassador Kale held up one blue hand for silence. "Honored delegates, we should not mock our human friends. They must have some plan, some hidden technology perhaps." "No hidden technology," Lisa said. "No tricks, no special equipment. Just humans being human." Commander Zektar shook his massive head. "This is foolishness. How can you expect to compete in combat trials without weapons? The trials are designed to test military capability. Every species brings their finest warriors and their most advanced equipment." Lisa looked around at all the alien faces watching her. Some showed curiosity, others showed amusement, and a few showed what might have been concern. She could see weapons everywhere. Energy rifles, plasma cannons, gravity hammers, neural disruptors. The aliens were covered in armor, force fields, and technological enhancements that made them faster, stronger, and more dangerous. "You're right," she said finally. "Every species does bring their finest warriors and most advanced equipment." She paused and smiled. "We brought both." The aliens looked confused. They looked around for other humans who might be hidden somewhere, or for cases that might contain advanced weapons. "I don't understand," said Ambassador Kale. "Where are your warriors? Where are your weapons?" Lisa spread her arms wide, showing her empty hands and simple clothes. "You're looking at them." The silence that followed was complete. Even the constant hum of the station's machinery seemed quieter. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at the small human woman, standing calmly in the middle of the docking bay. Commander Zektar was the first to break the silence. "You cannot be serious." "Completely serious," Lisa replied. "This is madness," the Vorthack commander said. "You will be destroyed in the first trial." Lisa's smile grew wider. "We'll see." "Completely serious," Lisa replied. "This is madness," the Vorthack commander said. "You will be destroyed in the first trial." Lisa's smile grew wider. "We'll see." The great arena at the center of Council Station Alpha could hold thousands of spectators. Its walls were made of transparent metal that could withstand the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Energy fields protected the viewing areas from any stray shots or explosions that might happen during the demonstrations. Lisa walked into the arena with the other human delegates. Around them, the curved walls rose up like a giant bowl. Aliens of every shape and size filled the seats, their various languages creating a constant buzz of sound. Translation devices worked hard to keep up with all the different conversations. The arena floor was large enough to hold several buildings. In the center sat a raised platform where each species would show off their military power. Weapon racks lined the walls, filled with every type of combat gear imaginable. Some weapons hummed with energy, others glowed with strange lights, and a few seemed to bend space around them. "Welcome, honored delegates," announced a voice that came from speakers hidden throughout the arena. The speaker was High Chancellor Vex, a member of the ancient Eternal race, who served as neutral judges of the summit. Today we witness the traditional demonstrations of military capability. Lisa found a seat in the section reserved for participating delegates. Around her sat the warriors and military leaders from dozens of worlds. Many of them still stared at her simple clothes and lack of weapons. She could hear whispered conversations in languages her translator couldn't identify. First to demonstrate, announced Chancellor Vex, the Hive Mind Collective. The arena floor filled with creatures that looked like a cross between ants and robots. Each one stood 7 feet tall with 4 arms and gleaming metal parts replacing their natural limbs. They moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. The Hive Mind warriors began their demonstration. They fired energy weapons with incredible accuracy, their shots hitting targets that appeared and disappeared around the arena. When they moved, they did so as one unit, never bumping into each other or getting in each other's way. Their biomechanical enhancements let them run faster than any natural creature and lift weights that would crush most organic beings. The alien audience made approving sounds. Even Lisa had to admit it was impressive. The Hive Mind warriors worked like a perfect machine, each part knowing exactly what the others would do. Next came the Lumens delegation. Ambassador Kale stepped onto the platform along with 2 other energy beings. Their blue skin began to glow brighter as they concentrated. Suddenly, weapons made of pure light appeared in their hands. Plasma rifles, energy swords, and force shields materialized from nothing. The Lumens warriors fought against holographic enemies that the arena's computers created. Their light weapons cut through thick armor like it was paper. When one of them was hit by a simulated attack, his body simply became transparent and the shot passed right through him. Impressive control over energy, Dr. Chen whispered to Lisa. They can create any weapon they need and become untouchable when necessary. The demonstrations continued. The crystalline nexaries showed how they could merge together to create larger, more powerful forms. The aquatic merhai displayed their ability to control water pressure and create crushing whirlpools even in the arena's artificial environment. The gaseous voidnet demonstrated phase shifting, becoming solid when they wanted to attack, and returned to gas form to avoid enemy fire. ACH display was more amazing than the last. The aliens in the audience cheered and clicked and flashed with approval. These were warriors who had conquered worlds and built empires. Their weapons could destroy cities, and their abilities seemed to break the laws of nature. Finally, Commander Zektar took the arena floor with 5 other Vorthak warriors. They wore massive suits of powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. Energy weapons were built into their arms, and force fields surrounded them like glowing bubbles. The Vorthak demonstration was brutal and efficient. They destroyed every target the arena could create. Their weapons carved holes and reinforced barriers. When they fired at maximum power, the arena's protective systems had to work hard to contain the energy. The Vorthak Empire has conquered 47 star systems, Commander Zektar announced as his warriors finished their display. Our military might is known throughout the galaxy. We are warriors born for battle. The alien audience roared approval. Several species began chanting Vorthak war songs. It was clear that most of the delegates were impressed and perhaps a little frightened. Chancellor Vex's voice echoed through the arena again. And now, the human delegation will demonstrate their military capabilities. A strange quiet fell over the arena. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward the human section. Lisa stood up slowly and walked toward the arena floor. She was followed by Captain Peterson, Dr. Chun, and Lieutenant Brown. "Where are your warriors?" called out someone from the next section. "Where are your weapons?" asked a Serpenti delegate. Lisa walked to the center of the platform. The arena floor around her was marked with scorch marks from the previous demonstrations. Pieces of destroyed targets littered the ground. The air still smelled of burned metal and ozone. She looked up at the thousands of aliens watching her. Her 3 companions stood at the edge of the platform, leaving her alone in the center. "Honored delegates," Lisa called out, her voice carrying clearly through the arena's sound system. "You have seen impressive displays of technology and natural abilities. You have seen weapons that can destroy cities and warriors who can conquer worlds." She paused and looked around the arena. "You have asked where our weapons are. You have asked where our warriors are." Commander Zektar stood up in his section. "Yes. Show us these weapons and warriors you claim to have." Lisa smiled. "You want to see a human weapon?" "Yes," shouted several aliens at once. "You want to see a human warrior?" The crowd began to chant. "Show us! Show us!" Lisa spread her arms wide. Her simple blue uniform looked tiny and fragile compared to all the armor and technology around her. "You're looking at both." The arena fell silent again. The quiet was so complete that Lisa could hear the humming of the station's life support systems. Ambassador Kale was the first to speak. "Captain Morgan, I do not understand. You carry no weapons. You wear no armor. You show no signs of enhancement or special abilities." "That's what you see," Lisa replied. "But that's not what I am." Commander Zektar laughed, the sound echoing off the arena walls. "This is ridiculous. You expect us to believe that a soft, weak human with no weapons or armor is somehow dangerous." "I don't expect you to believe anything," Lisa said calmly. "I expect you to see for yourself." The Vorthack commander stood up to his full height. His armor gleamed under the arena lights. "You challenge me?" "A human challenges a Vorthack warrior." "If you're willing," Lisa replied. Zektar's laugh grew louder. "This is madness. I could crush you with one hand." "Prove it," Lisa said simply. The arena erupted in noise. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Some sounded excited. Others sounded worried. A few sounded angry. Chancellor Vex's voice cut through the chaos. "Commander Zektar, do you accept this challenge?" The Vorthack warrior looked down at Lisa. She stood calmly in the center of the arena, her hands at her sides, showing no fear at all. "I accept," he said, "but I will not be responsible for what happens to her." "Neither will I," Lisa replied. "The responsibility will be entirely yours." The arena's combat systems came to life with a deep humming sound. Energy barriers rose on the floor to separate the fighting area from the spectator sections. Medical scanners began monitoring both fighters, ready to transport them to safety if they were badly hurt. The station's most advanced medical team stood by, prepared to treat injuries from any species. Commander Zektar stomped down to the arena floor. Each step of his armored boots made the metal ring like a bell. His powered suit was 8 feet of black metal and glowing energy lines. Weapons were built into both arms, a plasma cannon on the right and an energy blade generator on the left. Force fields shimmered around him like heat waves. Lisa stood exactly where she had been, wearing the same simple blue uniform. She had not moved toward the weapon racks that lined the arena walls. She had not asked for armor or protective gear. She just waited, her hands empty and her face calm. "This is wrong," Dr. Chin said quietly to Captain Peterson. "She shouldn't fight without protection." "She knows what she's doing," Peterson replied, but his voice sounded worried. Chancellor Vex's voice filled the arena. "Combat rules are as follows. Fight until one opponent yields or is unable to continue. Medical systems will intervene if life signs become critical. Lethal attacks are forbidden, but serious injury is permitted." Zektar activated his weapons. The plasma cannon charged with a whining sound that grew higher and higher. The energy blade sprang to life, a line of blue fire extending from his left arm. His force field grew brighter, creating a protective bubble around his massive form. "Last chance, human," he called out. "Take a weapon." Put on armor. Do something to protect yourself. Lisa looked at the weapon racks. Energy rifles hung there that could punch holes through steel. Gravity hammers that could flatten cars. Plasma sword that could cut through almost anything. Neural disruptors that could knock out an opponent without touching them. She looked back at Zektar and shook her head. I don't need any of those. Then you will die, the Vorthak warrior said. Begin, announced Chancellor Vex. Zektar raised his plasma cannon and fired. A bolt of superheated energy streaked across the arena, bright enough to hurt the eyes of watching aliens. The shot was aimed directly at Lisa's chest. At this range, it should have been impossible to miss. But Lisa was no longer where she had been standing. The energy bolt hit the arena wall behind her with a crash that shook the entire station. Molten metal sprayed in all directions. The protective barriers flickered as they absorbed the excess energy. Lisa had moved to her left, but not in any way the aliens expected. She hadn't run or jumped or teleported. She had simply flowed to one side like water, her body bending in ways that seemed impossible for a creature with bones. Zektar fired again and again. Each shot was perfectly aimed at where Lisa should have been. Each shot hit nothing but empty air and arena walls. Lisa moved between the energy bolts like she was dancing, her body twisting and turning in smooth motions that seemed to predict where each shot would go. How is she doing that? Ambassador Kale asked another delegate. Humans have no special abilities. They can't see into the future. The lumens watching in the stands began to glow brighter with excitement. They had never seen movement like this from a purely organic being. Zektar stopped firing and stared at Lisa. She stood 20 feet away from him, breathing normally without a scratch on her. Impossible, he muttered. No organic creature can move that fast. I'm not moving fast, Lisa called back. You're just moving slow. This made the Vorthak warrior angry. He activated his energy blade and charged toward her. His powered armor let him run faster than any unarmored being should be able to move. The energy blade cut through the air with a crackling sound. Lisa watched him approach. To the aliens in the stands, it looked like she was going to stand there and let herself be cut in half. Zektar raised his blade, ready to strike down at her. At the last possible second, Lisa moved. She didn't step backward or to the side. Instead, she moved forward, inside the range of his blade. Her hand came up and touched his wrist just as he started to swing down. Something happened that made no sense to the watching aliens. Zektar's energy blade missed completely, swinging wide to his left. His massive armored form stumbled and nearly fell. Lisa was suddenly standing behind him, having moved around his body faster than their eyes could follow. What happened? Clicked the Nexary delegate. His weapon system must have malfunctioned, but the arena sensors showed that all of Zektar's equipment was working perfectly. The malfunction had been in his arm, not his weapon. Zektar spun around, swinging his blade in a wide arc that should have caught Lisa no matter where she tried to dodge. But again, she wasn't where the swing went. She had dropped to the ground and rolled between his legs, coming up behind him again. This time her hand touched the back of his knee. Zektar's leg buckled, and he crashed to the arena floor with a sound like a falling building. Impossible, he roared, struggling to get back up. You cannot hurt me through my armor. I'm not hurting your armor, Lisa said calmly. I'm hurting you. The alien delegates in the stands began talking excitedly. This was not going the way anyone expected. A human with no weapons or armor was somehow fighting evenly with one of the galaxy's most feared warriors. Zektar climbed back to his feet and fired his plasma cannon again. This time he didn't aim carefully. He swept the beam back and forth across the arena, trying to hit Lisa, no matter where she went. The energy beam carved through the air like a sword of light. It should have been impossible to avoid. But Lisa moved through the deadly light, show like she was playing a game. She ducked under one beam, leaped over another, and slid to the side as a third one passed inches from her body. She's reading his targeting system, Dr. Chin said with amazement. Look at her eyes. She's watching the weapon, not him. It was true. Lisa's eyes were focused on the plasma cannon, watching the tiny movements that showed where it would fire next. Somehow, she was seeing patterns in Zektar's attacks that let her predict where each shot would go. Zektar stopped firing, breathing heavily inside his armor. "Stand still and fight me properly." "This is properly," Lisa replied. "For a human." She began to move toward him, walking slowly and calmly across the scorched arena floor. Zektar fired shot after shot, but none of them came close to hitting her. It was as if she could see each energy bolt before it was fired. When she got close enough, Lisa jumped. Not a superhuman leap or an impossible flight, just a normal human jump. But she jumped at exactly the right moment and in exactly the right direction. She landed on Zektar's arm, ran up his armored body like it was a ladder, and touched something on the back of his helmet. Zektar's force field flickered and died. His targeting system went dark. His weapon stopped working. He stood there in 8 feet of powerless armor, looking like a statue. "How?" he whispered. Lisa dropped to the ground in front of him. "You showed me your equipment for 5 minutes before we started fighting. That was long enough." "Long enough for what?" "To figure out how it works," Lisa said, "and how to turn it off." The arena fell completely silent. 8 feet of advanced military technology stood helpless before a human woman in a simple blue uniform. The most powerful warrior of the Vorthak Empire had been defeated without Lisa ever throwing a punch or kicking him or using any kind of weapon. "I yield," Zektar said quietly. Chancellor Vex's voice echoed through the arena. Combat complete. Victory to the human delegation. The alien delegates sat in stunned silence. What they had just seen should have been impossible. A human had defeated a Vorthak warrior, using nothing but her bare hands and her mind. Lisa looked up at the watching crowds. Anyone else? The silence in the arena stretched on for long seconds. Thousands of alien eyes stared down at the small human woman, standing calmly beside the disabled Vorthak warrior. Commander Zektar's armor was completely dead, its energy system shut down by touches so precise they seemed like magic. Finally, a new voice spoke up. It came from the Cronin section, where massive reptilian beings sat in specially reinforced seats. The speaker was General Deathcar, a creature that stood 12 feet tall even without armor. His scales were dark green with scars from 100 battles, and his yellow eyes burned with anger. "Trickery," Deathcar rumbled, his voice so deep it made the arena floor vibrate. The human used some kind of device to interfere with Vorthak technology. Lisa looked up at him. No device, no tricks, just human hands and human knowledge. The Cronin general stood up, his massive form casting a shadow over several rows of seats. "Prove it. Fight me. I wear no powered armor, carry no energy weapons. Just natural Cronin strength and simple metal protection." He was telling the truth. Deathcar wore armor made of thick metal plates, but had no energy systems to shut down. His weapons were mechanical rather than electronic. A massive hammer and a sword that could cut through steel. Everything about him was built for straightforward, brutal combat. "If you accept," Chancellor Vex announced, "the arena medical system show this Cronin warrior's natural strength is enough to crush most organic beings. His hide is thick enough to stop small weapons, and his bones are denser than steel." Lisa nodded. "I accept." Dr. Chin stood up in the human section. "Lisa, this is different. You can't shut down his equipment, because he doesn't have any. He's just a very large, very strong creature with thick armor and big weapons." "I know," Lisa replied. General Deathcar jumped down to the arena floor. When he landed, the impact made a sound like thunder. He was even more impressive up close, a living tank of muscle and scales, carrying weapons that looked like they belonged on a construction site rather than a battlefield. "Begin!" called Chancellor Vex. Deathcar charged immediately. There was no energy weapon to aim, no targeting system to confuse. He simply ran straight at Lisa, his massive hammer raised high above his head. Each step made the arena floor shake. Lisa stood perfectly still until he was almost on top of her. Then she moved, but not the way the aliens expected. Instead of dodging to the side or jumping backward, Lisa ran directly toward the charging Cronin. She was moving straight into the path of his hammer, as if she wanted to be crushed. The alien spectators gasped. Several delegates looked away, not wanting to see the human destroyed. At the last possible moment, Lisa changed direction. She dropped to the ground and slid between Death Car's legs as his hammer came crashing down. The massive weapon hit the arena floor with enough force to crack the metal, but Lisa was already behind him. As she slid past, her hand touched the back of Death Car's ankle. It was just a brief contact, barely noticeable. But when the Cronin warrior tried to turn around to face her, his leg collapsed. Death Car crashed to the ground, his massive form hitting the arena floor like a falling building. He tried to get back up, but his left leg wouldn't support his weight. "What did you do?" he roared, swinging his hammer at Lisa from his position on the ground. Lisa easily stepped out of range. "Pressure point behind your ankle. I shut down the nerve cluster that controls your leg muscles." "Impossible. Cronin anatomy is different from human anatomy." "Not that different," Lisa said. "All bipedal species have similar nerve structures in their legs. It's basic biology." Death Car switched his hammer to his other hand and tried to sweep Lisa's legs with the long handle. She jumped over the swing and landed lightly on his chest. Her hand touched a spot just below his throat. Suddenly, Death Car couldn't speak. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His eyes went wide with shock. "Vocal nerve cluster," Lisa explained. "Also temporary. You'll be fine in a few minutes." The Cronin warrior struggled to throw her off, but his movements were becoming sluggish. Lisa had touched 3 more spots on his chest and arms, and now his muscles weren't responding properly. "You're shutting down his nervous system," Dr. Chen said with amazement, without any medical equipment or knowledge of his specific anatomy. Lisa looked up at him. "All nervous systems work basically the same way. The locations might be slightly different, but the principles are identical." She stepped off Death Car's chest and looked down at the helpless warrior. He was still conscious and aware, but none of his muscles would obey his commands. "This will wear off in about 10 minutes, she told him. "No permanent damage." The arena erupted in noise. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages, their translation devices working overtime. Some sounded excited, others sounded frightened, and many sounded confused. 2 victories," announced Chancellor Vex. "The human delegation has defeated a Vorthak warrior and a Cronin general using no weapons and no armor." A new voice called out from a crystalline section. "I challenge a human." It was Prime Crystal Cathari of the Nexary, a being that looked like a walking diamond. You cannot use pressure points on a creature made of living crystal. Lisa looked up at the sparkling alien. The Nexary were silicon-based life forms, as different from organic beings as rock was from flesh. They had no nervous systems in the traditional sense, no blood, no muscles that could be paralyzed. "You're right," Lisa said. "Pressure points won't work on you." "Then you admit defeat?" "No, I'll just have to try something else." Cathari flowed down to the arena floor. The Nexary didn't walk like other creatures. They shifted their crystal structure to move like liquid glass. When they wanted to be solid, they became harder than diamond. When they needed to move, they became flexible like water. "I could become harder than your weapons," Cathari announced. "Or I could become intangible so your attacks pass right through me. How do you plan to defeat something you cannot touch or damage?" Lisa studied the crystal being carefully. Every creature has weaknesses, even Nexary. "Prove it." "Begin," called Chancellor Vex. Cathari immediately shifted to his hardest form. He became a statue of living diamond, reflecting the arena lights in brilliant rainbows. Then he began to change shape, growing spikes and sharp edges all over his body. He looked like a crystal cactus made of sword blades. Lisa circled around him slowly, staying out of range of his sharp edges. She watched how the light passed through his crystal body, how he moved, how he changed from solid to liquid and back again. "You cannot hurt me," Cathari said, his voice ringing like wind chimes. "I am perfect crystal, flawless and unbreakable." "Flawless?" Lisa asked, "Are you sure about that?" She picked up a small piece of debris from the arena floor, a fragment of metal left over from the earlier demonstrations. It was nothing special, just a tiny shard of ordinary steel. Lisa threw the metal piece at Cathari. It bounced off his crystal surface harmlessly and clattered to the floor. "Is that your attack?" the Nexri laughed. "Throwing garbage at me?" "No," Lisa said. "That was just a test." She picked up another piece of debris, but this time she held it differently. She examined Cathari's crystal structure more carefully, looking for something the naked eye could barely see. Then she threw the second piece. This one hit Cathari in exactly the same place as the first one, but at a slightly different angle. A hairline crack appeared in the crystal being's surface. Cathari looked down in shock. "Impossible. I am perfect crystal. I have no flaws." "Every crystal has stress points," Lisa said. "Even perfect ones. You just have to know where to look and how to hit them." She picked up a third piece of debris. "The first throw showed me your crystal structure. The second one started the crack. This one," she threw the third piece. It hit the exact center of the hairline crack. Cathari shattered. The Nexri didn't die or get seriously hurt. Their crystal bodies could break apart and reform. But for several minutes, he was just a pile of sparkling fragments scattered across the arena floor, unable to fight or even speak. "3 victories," announced Chancellor Vex, his voice sounding amazed. "The human has defeated warriors using technology, biology, and now physics." Lisa looked up at the thousands of watching aliens. Many of them were backing away from the barriers, as if afraid she might somehow reach them. "Who's next?" she asked. The challenges came faster now. One by one, representatives from different species dropped down to the arena floor. Each alien warrior was confident that their particular advantages would be the ones to finally stop the impossible human. Next came Fleet Commander NAL Seth of the Merhai, an aquatic species that looked like a cross between a shark and an octopus. He stood 10 feet tall on powerful tentacles, his gray skin glistening with moisture from his environmental suit. Water constantly circulated around his body, and his pressure attacks have been known to crush submarines. "Your tricks will not work on a creature of the deep ocean," Aelseth gurgled, his voice bubbling through his water-filled breathing apparatus. "I control pressure itself. I can create forces that will flatten you like paper." The arena systems activated special fields that allowed Aelseth to use his water-based abilities. Suddenly, the air around him became thick with moisture. He raised his tentacles and created a whirlpool of pressurized water that spun around his body like armor. "Begin!" called Chancellor Vex. Aelseth immediately launched a pressure attack. The water around him shot forward in a concentrated blast that could punch through steel. Lisa moved aside, but the pressure wave still caught her and sent her sliding across the arena floor. The alien spectators cheered. Finally, someone had managed to actually hit the human. But Lisa rolled with the impact and came back to her feet unharmed. She studied Aelseth's water attacks, watching how he controlled the pressure and flow. "You cannot dodge water forever, human." Aelseth created 3 pressure waves at once, attacking from different directions. Lisa did something unexpected. Instead of trying to avoid the water, she moved into it. She rode the pressure waves like a surfer, using their force to propel herself around the arena faster than she could run. "What is she doing?" Ambassador Kale asked Dr. Chun. "She's using his attacks against him," Chun replied with growing excitement. "She's turning his own weapon into transportation." Lisa surfed the pressure wave right up to Aelseth. Before he could react, she touched a specific spot on his environmental suit. The water circulation stopped. Without the constant flow of moisture, the aquatic alien began to weaken immediately. "My life support," Aelseth gasped. "Still working," Lisa said, "just not efficiently. You'll be fine, but you won't be able to fight." Aelseth tried to create more pressure attacks, but without proper water circulation, his abilities faded quickly. Within minutes, he was forced to yield. "For victories," announced Chancellor Vex. The next challenger was Phase General Mordun of the Voidnef, a being made of sentient gas who could become solid or intangible at will. He flowed down to the arena like purple smoke, constantly shifting between states of matter. "You cannot touch what has no fixed form," Mordun whispered, his voice coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You cannot break what is already scattered." Lisa watched as the gas being swirled around the arena. When he became solid, he was incredibly dense and strong. When he became gas, physical attacks passed right through him. Begin! Mordun attacked by becoming solid just long enough to strike, then returned to gas form before Lisa could counterattack. It was like fighting smoke that could occasionally punch. But Lisa noticed something. "You have to breathe," she said. "What?" "Even as a gas, you still need to maintain coherence. You still need some kind of respiratory process to maintain your consciousness." Lisa began to move in a specific pattern around the arena. She wasn't trying to attack Mordun directly. Instead, she was creating air currents with her movements, using her knowledge of fluid dynamics to disrupt his gas form. "What are you doing?" Mordun demanded, his voice becoming confused and scattered. "Making it hard for you to think straight," Lisa replied. She was essentially stirring up the air in the arena, making it impossible for the gas being to maintain his concentration. Mordun tried to become solid to escape confusion, but Lisa was ready. The moment he took physical form, she was there with a pressure point attack that disrupted his nervous system. He collapsed to the arena floor, unable to shift back to gas form. 5 victories. The challenges continued. A cybernetic Mechtel warrior with integrated weapon systems. Lisa found the manual override switches that his own designers had forgotten existed. A psychic Tilazri who could read minds. Lisa's thoughts moved too fast and in too many directions for her telepathy to follow. An energy-based Photonhai who could become pure light. Lisa used the arena's reflective surfaces to scatter his consciousness until he couldn't reform. With each victory, the alien spectators became quieter and more nervous. What they were witnessing defied everything they thought they knew about combat and warfare. Dr. Chen finally stood up in the human section. "Perhaps," he called out, "it's time we explain what you're actually seeing." Chancellor Vex's voice echoed through the arena. "The human scientist may speak." Chen activated his translation device and addressed the thousands of watching aliens. "Honored delegates, you have been wondering how one human with no weapons or special abilities can defeat so many different types of warriors. The answer is simple. You're not fighting a human. You're fighting the result of human evolution." Confused sounds came from the alien sections. "Let me explain," Chen continued. "Most of your species evolved on worlds with abundant resources and few natural predators. You developed technology to solve problems. Humans evolved on what we call a deathworld, a planet where almost everything was trying to kill us." Lisa remained in the center of the arena, breathing easily despite having fought 8 different opponents. "For millions of years," Chen said, "humans were persistence hunters. We didn't have claws or fangs or poison or natural armor. We couldn't fly or breathe underwater or survive in extreme temperatures. So we developed something else, the ability to adapt to any situation, to learn any pattern, to outlast any opponent." The alien delegates listened intently. "What you've been seeing is a human brain in action. Captain Morgan has been analyzing each opponent, learning their weaknesses, and adapting her strategy in real time. She's not using special powers. She's using pattern recognition, spatial awareness, and adaptive problem-solving." Ambassador Kale's blue skin flickered with understanding. "She's learning how to defeat each opponent by watching them fight." "Exactly," Chen said, "but it's more than that. Humans evolved to track multiple variables simultaneously. We can calculate trajectory, timing, force, and probability instinctively. We can predict behavior based on tiny physical cues. We can use tools and environment in ways their creators never intended." He gestured toward Lisa. "What you've been watching is not a warrior demonstrating superior technology. You've been watching an apex predator demonstrate why our species once hunted creatures 10 times their size with nothing but sharp rocks and wooden sticks." The arena fell silent as the implication sank in. Every human is born with the most sophisticated analysis and adaptation system in the known galaxy. Chen continued. "We call it intelligence, but it's really a survival mechanism that makes us living weapons." Commander Zektar, now free from his disabled armor, spoke up from the viewing area. "You're saying that all humans can do what you just did?" Lisa answered for herself. "Every human is different. Some are better at pattern recognition, others at physical adaptation, others at problem solving. But yes, every human has these basic capabilities." "How many humans are there?" asked a small voice from the insectoid section. Dr. Chin smiled. About 12 billion, spread across 47 worlds. The number hit the alien delegates like a physical blow. 12 billion creatures, each one a potential Lisa Morgan. 12 billion beings who could adapt to any situation, learn any pattern, and turn any advantage against itself. Now you understand, Lisa said, looking up at the watching crowds, why we don't need weapons. We are the weapons. Dr. Chin stepped down to the arena floor beside Lisa. She had defeated 8 different opponents from 8 different species, each with their own unique advantages and abilities. She looked tired but not exhausted, like someone who had been working hard but was nowhere near her limits. With your permission, Chancellor Vex, Chin said, I would like to explain exactly what you have witnessed here today. Permission granted, came the reply from the arena speakers. The galactic community would benefit from understanding these human capabilities. Chin activated a holographic display system that showed three-dimensional images above the arena floor. The first image was a rotating model of a human brain. This is the center of human combat effectiveness, he began. To understand how Captain Morgan just defeated 8 trained warriors, you need to understand how this organ evolved on our world. The hologram changed to show a primitive Earth landscape filled with dangerous creatures. Massive predators with fangs and claws stalked through forests where early humans tried to survive. Human ancestors were not the strongest, fastest, or most dangerous creatures on our planet, Chin explained. We had no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. What we had was this brain, and it developed capabilities that no other species in the galaxy seems to possess. Ambassador Kale leaned forward in his seat. What capabilities? Pattern recognition, on a level that borders on precognition, Chin said. The hologram showed Lisa's fight with Commander Zektar, slowing down her movements to show how she predicted where his shots would go. Captain Morgan wasn't dodging his energy blasts. She was reading the micro-movements of his weapon and calculating trajectory before he fired. The alien delegates made sounds of amazement. To dodge something, you had to see it coming. To dodge it before it was fired seemed impossible. Humans evolved to hunt animals much larger and stronger than themselves, Chin continued. To do this successfully, we had to predict animal behavior, calculate movement patterns, and plan attacks that would succeed despite our physical disadvantages. The hologram showed ancient humans hunting a massive woolly mammoth. The tiny human figures moved in coordinated patterns, using spears and tools to bring down a creature that could have crushed them easily. Notice how they don't attack the mammoth's strongest points, Jim pointed out. They target weak spots, joints, tendons, pressure points. Captain Morgan used the same hunting instincts against her opponents. General Deathcar, still recovering from his paralyzed leg, called out from the stands. She said all nervous systems work the same way. How could she know about Cronin anatomy? She didn't, Chin replied, but she knows general biological principles. All creatures that walk upright need similar nerve clusters to control their legs. The exact location might vary by a few centimeters, but the basic structure is universal. The hologram changed to show anatomical diagrams of different species, highlighting their nerve clusters and pressure points. Humans are natural scientists, Chin explained. We look at something new and immediately start analyzing how it works. We see patterns and connections that others miss. Captain Morgan studied each opponent for only a few minutes, but that was enough for her to understand their basic biology and technology. Prime Crystal Cathari, his crystal body now reformed but still showing crack marks, asked, "How did she know where to strike my crystal structure?" "I am made of perfect silicon matrix." "Perfect crystals are actually easier to break than flawed ones," Lisa answered. "Flawed crystals have multiple stress points that absorb impact. Perfect crystals have predictable stress patterns. I just needed to see how light passed through your body to map your internal structure." Chin nodded. "This is another human advantage. We use tools and environment in creative ways." Captain Morgan turned arena debris into precision instruments. She used pressure waves as transportation. She turned reflective surfaces into weapons against energy beings. The hologram showed each of these creative solutions in slow motion. But the most important human capability, Chin said, is adaptation speed. Most species develop one strategy and stick with it. Humans change strategy constantly based on new information. He showed Lisa's fight against the psychic Tillisree warrior. When faced with a mind reader, she didn't try to block her thoughts. Instead, she accelerated them and made them chaotic, overwhelming the telepathic connection. Fleet Commander N.A.L. Seth gurgled a question from a section. She used my own water attacks to move faster. How did she learn hydrodynamics so quickly? She didn't learn it, Chin said. She already knew it. Human education includes basic physics, biology, chemistry, and engineering. We teach these subjects to our children because we might need to apply them in unexpected situations. The alien delegates began talking among themselves in worried tones. A species where every individual had basic scientific knowledge was dangerous enough. A species that could apply that knowledge creatively in combat situations was terrifying. You're saying every human knows these things? Asked us a penny representative. Basic principles, yes, Lisa replied. We might not know the specific details of your technology or biology, but we understand how things work in general. Energy flows in predictable patterns. Biological systems have common weaknesses. Physical laws are universal. Dr. Chin brought up his final holographic display. It showed human population centers across dozens of worlds. This brings us to the most important point, he said. Humans don't just fight as individuals. We fight as a species. Every human learns from the experiences of every other human. When Captain Morgan returns to Earth, she will share everything she learned about your species' combat capabilities. The arena fell silent as it sank in. Within a few months, Chin continued, every human military academy, every self-defense instructor, every police officer will know how to disable Vorthack armor, how to disrupt Cronin nerve clusters, how to shatter Nexury crystal matrices, and how to counter every other ability demonstrated here today. Commander Zektar stood up slowly. You're saying that by fighting one human, we've essentially taught all humans how to defeat us. Yes, Lisa said simply. That's how we learn. We share information. We adapt. We improve. What I figured out today will be common knowledge for humans tomorrow. Chancellor Vex's voice carried a note of concern. This implies that human military capability grows with every encounter. Exactly, Chin said. We get stronger by fighting stronger opponents. We get smarter by facing smarter enemies. Every challenge makes us more dangerous. The hologram showed human colonies spreading across the galaxy, with information networks connecting them all. This is why humans have expanded so far so peacefully, Lisa explained. We don't need to conquer worlds because we learn from everyone we meet. Every species we encounter teaches us something new. She looked up at the thousands of watching aliens. You came here to show off your military might. You wanted to demonstrate why your species should be feared and respected. Instead, you've given us a detailed education in galactic combat techniques. Ambassador Kale's skin flickered with understanding. You weren't here to compete. You were here to learn. We were here to do both, Lisa said. Humans are always ready to learn something new. Dr. Chin gestured to the arena around them. This demonstration has taught us about energy weapons, crystal physics, pressure dynamics, phase shifting, cybernetic systems, psychic defenses, biomechanical enhancement, and gaseous consciousness control. All of this information will be studied, analyzed, and incorporated into human knowledge. In other words, Lisa said with a smile, thank you for the education. The alien delegates sat in stunned silence, realizing that what they thought was a demonstration of their superiority had actually been a masterclass for their most dangerous potential opponent. Now, Lisa said, looking around the arena, who else would like to teach us something new? The alien delegates had stopped volunteering individual challengers. The arena floor was littered with disabled equipment and fallen warriors, each one a testament to human adaptability. But the galactic community was not ready to accept what they had witnessed. High Admiral Krexnos of the Unified Defense Coalition stood up in the command section. He was a Zolani, a species known for their strategic thinking and military coordination. His purple skin was marked with the scars of a dozen campaigns, and his 4 eyes could track multiple targets simultaneously. "Enough games," Krexnos announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in actual wars. "This human has demonstrated an ability to exploit individual weaknesses. But combat is not about individual duels. It is about coordinated warfare." Chancellor Vex's voice echoed through the arena. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "A true test," Krexnos replied. "Let this human face a coordinated assault from multiple opponents working together with integrated technology and unified tactics. Let us see how well she adapts to real military strategy." Lisa looked up at the Admiral. "How many opponents?" 12. Krexnos said. "One representative from each major military power in the galaxy, all fighting together with shared technology and coordinated battle plans." Dr. Chin stepped closer to Lisa. "That's different from what you've been facing. 12 trained warriors working as a team with integrated systems and battle coordination." "I know," Lisa said quietly, "but I accept. Are you sure? You've been fighting for 2 hours already. You must be getting tired." Lisa stretched and took a deep breath. "I'm fine. Besides, this is what they really want to see. Everything up to now has been preliminary testing." Chancellor Vex announced the terms. "Final demonstration. Captain Morgan versus 12 representatives in coordinated combat. All standard equipment permitted. Arena will be configured for maximum tactical complexity." The arena began to change. Walls rose from the floor, creating a complex maze of cover and obstacles. Energy barriers appeared and disappeared randomly, creating changing sightlines. Weapon platforms descended from the ceiling, providing additional firepower for the alien team. The simple fighting platform had become a three-dimensional battlefield. The 12 chosen warriors gathered at one end of the arena. Each represented a different species and fighting style. Commander Zektar in newly repaired Vorthak armor. General Deathkar with enhanced Cronin weapons. Prime Crystal Kethari in a more resilient crystal form. Fleet Commander Nalseth with improved pressure systems. Phase General Mordun with stabilization equipment. The Psychic Tilazri warrior Telnara with amplified mental abilities. A cybernetic Mechtel soldier with integrated targeting systems. A hive mind drone connected to tactical networks. A Lumen's energy shaper with plasma weapons. A photon-high light being with coherent stabilizers. A Serpeni assassin with neurotoxins. And finally, a Kalani strategist to coordinate their movements. "This is an actual military squad," Dr. Chin observed. "Different specialties, integrated equipment, unified command structure. They're not fighting as individuals anymore." Lisa studied the team as they organized themselves. The Kalani strategist was connecting their communication systems, creating a tactical network that would let them coordinate instantly. The hive mind drone was interfacing with the arena's weapon platforms. The Lumens was creating energy barriers to protect the group. "Begin final demonstration," announced Chancellor Vex. The coordinated assault began immediately. The 12 warriors didn't attack one at a time or try to face Lisa individually. Instead, they moved as a single unit, with the Kalani strategist directing their movements through the tactical network. Energy blasts came from multiple directions as the Vorthak, Mechtel, and arena weapons fired in coordinated patterns. The photon high created blinding light flashes to confuse Lisa's vision. The psychic Telnara tried to overwhelm her mind with chaotic thoughts. The hive mind drone calculated her movement patterns and predicted where she would go. For the first time in the demonstrations, Lisa was forced to take cover. She rolled behind one of the arena walls as energy blasts carved chunks out of the floor where she had been standing. "Coordinated fire patterns," she said to herself, analyzing the attack. "Predictive targeting. Sensory overload tactics. They're not fighting like individuals anymore." The alien team advanced in formation, with the Crystal Nexri and Armored Cronin providing mobile cover, while the ranged attackers maintained suppressing fire. The Serpeni assassin and Phase General flanked around the sides, trying to cut off escape routes. Lisa moved through the maze of cover, but everywhere she went, enemies were waiting. The tactical network let them know her position constantly, and their coordinated attacks left her fewer and fewer options. "She's trapped," Admiral Krexnos observed with satisfaction. Coordination defeats individual skill. But Dr. Chen was watching more carefully. "Look at her movement pattern," he said. "She's not trying to escape. She's mapping their coordination network." It was true. Lisa wasn't running randomly through the arena. She was moving in a specific pattern, forcing the alien team to respond in ways that revealed how their tactical system worked. When the Kalani strategist sent orders to the flanking teams, Lisa observed the delay between command and response. When the hive mind drone predicted her movements, she noted how it shared that information with the other warriors. When the psychic tried to read her intentions, she fed it false information while watching how that affected the team's positioning. She's learning their system. Chen realized, just like she learned individual fighting styles, she's learning how they coordinate as a team. Lisa suddenly changed tactics. Instead of avoiding the coordinated attacks, she moved directly into them. She ran straight at the center of the alien formation, where their firepower was most concentrated. The coordinated targeting system should have made this impossible. 12 warriors with integrated technology should have been able to stop one human running directly at them. But Lisa was no longer moving like an individual fighter. She was moving like someone who understood their coordination system better than they did. She timed her approach to arrive during the brief gaps when their weapon cycled. She moved through their formation at the exact moments when their communication network was processing data. She exploited the micro-delays in their tactical system to stay consistently one step ahead of their coordinated responses. The alien warriors found themselves shooting at empty air while Lisa passed between them like water flowing through cracks. Their own coordination system, designed to make them more effective, became a weakness she could exploit. "Impossible," Admiral Krex nose breathed. "She's using their own tactical network against them." Lisa reached the center of their formation and touched the Kalani strategist's communication device. The tactical network didn't shut down, but it began receiving false information. Suddenly, the 12 warriors were getting contradictory orders and conflicting data about Lisa's position. Their perfect coordination collapsed into chaos. Warriors fired at locations where Lisa wasn't. Movement orders sent them into each other's line of fire. The hive mind drone predictions became worthless because it was working with false data. Within minutes, the coordinated military unit had become 12 confused individuals again, and Lisa had already proven she could defeat individuals. One by one, they fell to the same techniques she had used before. Pressure points on the organic warriors, system shutdowns on the technological ones, physics exploits on the energy beings. But now she moved faster because she understood not just their individual capabilities, but how they worked together. When the last warrior yielded, Lisa stood alone in the center of the arena. Around her lay 12 of the galaxy's finest military representatives, defeated not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by someone who had learned their system and turned it against them. The alien spectators sat in complete silence. What they had just witnessed was more than one human defeating 12 warriors. They had watched her analyze, understand, and exploit a coordinated military system in real time. "Final demonstration complete," announced Chancellor Vex, his voice subdued. Victory to the human delegation. Lisa looked up at the thousands of watching aliens. "Now you understand what humans really are." Admiral Krex slowly stood up. "What are you?" "We're the species that learns," Lisa replied. "We're the species that adapts. We're the species that gets stronger every time you try to defeat us." She gestured to the disabled warriors around her. "You just gave us a complete education in galactic military coordination. Thank you." The arena fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had just learned everything the galaxy knew about warfare, and they had learned it by letting the aliens demonstrate themselves. "Any other lessons you'd like to teach us?" Lisa asked. The great arena of Council Station Alpha had never been so quiet. Thousands of alien delegates sat in stunned silence, watching a single human woman stand calmly among the defeated representatives of their greatest military powers. The air itself seemed heavy with the weight of what they had witnessed. Captain Jake Peterson finally stepped down to the arena floor. He walked slowly, deliberately, giving every alien delegate time to see him clearly. His human military uniform looked impossibly simple compared to all the advanced armor and technology scattered around Lisa. "You asked," Peterson said, his voice carrying clearly through the arena speakers, why she had no weapons. He stopped beside Lisa, looking up at the thousands of watching aliens. His words were calm and measured, but they carried the weight of absolute certainty. Every human is born with the most sophisticated weapons system in the known galaxy. We call them hands, eyes, and a brain. Everything else is just tools. The silence stretched on. Then, slowly, Admiral Krexnos stood up in the command section. His 4 Zilani eyes had been tracking every movement during the final battle, and his strategic mind was beginning to understand the full implications. "Captain Peterson," Krexnos said carefully, "are you saying that what we witness here today represents standard human capability?" "Standard?" Peterson looked at Lisa and smiled. "Captain Morgan is a good fighter, but she's not exceptional by human standards. She's a ship captain, not a special forces operator. Any human marine, any police officer, any self-defense instructor could have done something similar." The alien delegates began talking among themselves in worried whispers. Translation devices struggled to keep up with a sudden burst of nervous conversation. Dr. Chen activated his holographic display one final time. The image showed a star map of human space, with colony worlds marked in blue dots across dozens of star systems. 12 billion humans, he said simply, spread across 47 worlds, each one capable of the analysis and adaptation you've seen today. A new voice spoke up from the viewing area. It was Chancellor Vex himself, stepping out from his observation booth to address the arena directly. The ancient Eternal rarely appeared in person, and his presence made the moment even more significant. "Dr. Chun," Chancellor Vex said, "help us understand the full scope of what we have learned today." Chun nodded respectfully. "What you witnessed is not human military superiority. It's human survival instinct. Every capability Captain Morgan demonstrated evolved naturally on our homeworld." The hologram changed to show Earth, a blue and green planet that looked deceptively peaceful. Pattern recognition that borders on precognition. Spatial awareness that lets us track multiple moving objects simultaneously. Adaptive problem solving that turns any situation to our advantage. Persistence that refuses to accept defeat. And most importantly, the ability to learn from every encounter. The image zoomed to show Earth's surface. Vast oceans, towering mountains, dense forests, scorching deserts, frozen polar regions. Humans evolved to survive in every environment on their planet, Chin continued. We had to be able to hunt in forests, swim in oceans, climb mountains, cross deserts, and survive in frozen wastelands. No specialized environment, no single survival strategy. Pure adaptability. Ambassador Kale's blue skin flickered with understanding. A generalist species. But generalists are usually weaker than specialists. "That's what we thought too," Peterson said, "until we met other species and realized that our weakness was actually our greatest strength." Lisa walked over to where Commander Zektar was slowly getting back to his feet. She offered him a hand up, which he accepted after a moment's hesitation. "Commander," she said, "your people are magnificent warriors. Your technology is impressive, your tactics are sound, and your courage is undeniable." Zektar looked down at her, confusion replacing his earlier anger. "Then how did you defeat me so easily?" "Because you're specialists," Lisa replied. "You're perfectly adapted for your style of warfare. But humans aren't adapted for any particular style. We're adapted to figure out whatever style works best in each situation." Dr. Chen brought up his final display. It showed the expansion of human space over the past century, with timeline markers showing first contact with various alien species. "Notice the pattern," he said. "Humans have had contact with 43 different intelligent species. We fought wars with exactly 0 of them." The alien delegates leaned forward, studying the peaceful expansion pattern. "This is not because humans are pacifists," Peterson explained. "It's because we're so adaptable that other species find it easier to cooperate with us than to fight us." He gestured to the arena around them. "Today, you all demonstrated your finest military capabilities. You showed us your best weapons, your strongest warriors, your most advanced tactics. In return, we showed you why fighting humans is a losing proposition. Chancellor Vex spoke again. Explain. Every technique you demonstrated here today will be studied by human military academies within the month. Peterson said, every weakness Captain Morgan exploited will become standard knowledge for human forces. Every coordination system you use will be analyzed and counter-strategies developed. The implications hit the alien delegates like a physical blow. But more than that, Lisa added, we've learned about your psychology, your decision-making processes, your cultural approaches to combat. We know how you think now. Dr. Chen nodded. Humans don't just adapt to enemy tactics. We adapt to enemy thought patterns. We learn to predict what you'll do before you decide to do it. Admiral Krexnos sank back into his seat. You're saying that by demonstrating our capabilities, we've made ourselves more vulnerable to human opposition. If there ever was human opposition, Peterson said, which there won't be. Why not? Lisa smiled. Because humans are smart enough to know that cooperation is more profitable than conquest. Why fight 12 billion potential enemies when you can trade with 12 billion potential partners? She looked around the arena. Every species here today has something humans want to learn. Art, music, science, philosophy, technology. We'd rather trade with you than fight you. Dr. Chen deactivated his holographic display. This demonstration wasn't about proving human military superiority. It was about proving that humans are safe to trade with, safe to cooperate with, and definitely safe to leave alone. Chancellor Vex considered this for a long moment. A fascinating approach to diplomacy. Demonstrate overwhelming capability in order to make violence unnecessary. Exactly, Peterson said. Humans learned long ago that the best way to avoid a fight is to make sure everyone knows you'll win it. The arena began to buzz with conversation again, but the tone was different now. Instead of fear or hostility, the alien delegates were discussing trade opportunities, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. Ambassador Kale stood up. The Lumens Confederation would be honored to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. Other voices joined in quickly. Species after species began requesting trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The demonstration of human combat capability had paradoxically opened doors for peaceful cooperation. Lisa looked up at Chancellor Vex. Mission accomplished. Indeed, the ancient Eternal replied. The galactic community has learned much today. As the delegates began filing out of the arena, discussing new possibilities for human-alien cooperation, Dr. Chen gathered his holographic equipment. 12 hours ago, he said to Lisa and Peterson, most of these species had never heard of humans. Now they're all planning to trade with us. That's diplomacy, Peterson replied. Show them what happens if they fight you, then give them every reason to cooperate instead. Lisa looked around the empty arena one last time. Think any of them will remember the real lesson? What lesson? Peterson asked. That the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't a weapon you can see coming, Lisa said with a smile. It's a mind that can learn anything. As the human delegation prepared to leave Council Station Alpha, word was already spreading through galactic communication networks. Humanity had arrived on the interstellar stage not as conquerors or victims, but as something far more significant, as teachers and students who could learn from anyone and adapt to anything. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, humans had always been good at changing things. 3 months later, every major military academy in the galaxy added a new required course to their curriculum, human psychology and alternative conflict resolution. The unofficial name for the class was simpler, Why Diplomacy Works Better Than War. Lisa Morgan returned to her ship and her regular duties, but her demonstration at Council Station Alpha became the stuff of legend. Across human space, military instructors use recordings of her fights to teach adaptive combat techniques. But more importantly, those same recordings were studied by every alien species in the galaxy as an object lesson in why peaceful cooperation with humans was not just preferable, it was essential. The galaxy had asked to see human weapons. Humanity had shown them something far more dangerous. Human intelligence applied to any problem that needed solving. And the most amazing part was that humans were perfectly willing to use that intelligence to help rather than harm, as long as everyone understood the alternatives.